Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Sea of Tranquility's Rant series. I'm your host, Pardo, publisher and CEO of SOT. Today is Friday, August the 10th. We've got another little rant here, something that's been on my mind actually for a long time. And about last week, I was thinking, you know what, I should do a rant on this. The topic I'm talking about here is the tribute and covers album Craze, right? So if you go back in rock and roll history, especially in the 60s, 70s, and even the 80s, periodically you'd see a band or artist release kind of a tribute album or a covers album. It would come out every so often. It'd be kind of neat, kind of like a novelty thing. And you'd be like, all right, pretty cool, right? A respected, known artist doing songs from other respected, known artists. And usually if it was like from a different musical genre, kind of a cool thing, right? But then in the 90s and certainly in the 2000s, you started seeing these more and more and more. And a lot of instances you would see bands in a certain genre doing a tribute or covers album for other acts that are in the same genre. And before you know it, you have a lot of these bands who are redoing songs by maybe their heroes or their peers, and they're basically doing like note-for-note renditions of the same songs. And while it might be an interesting listen once, maybe twice, are you ever going to go back to listen to these again? And that's, when you're reviewing, when you're someone in my position who basically reviews new music for a living, well, not for a living, as a hobby, obviously. I don't do this for a living, but it's a passion of mine. You see a lot of this stuff, and after a while, you're like, okay, this is kind of cool. It's a cursory listen, but I'd rather hear the originals. So you have to wonder a lot of times what's the driving force behind some of these bands and artists actually doing covers albums. Do they have like one more release that they got to pump out to the record label before their contract is up? And so you figure, well, pump out a live album or do a covers or tribute album, right? I don't know what the driving force is. Sometimes you see like a legacy band that wants to do kind of like a tribute to their heroes and their influences, and they put out something. I think that's kind of like what Def Leppard did a couple of years back when they did that Yeah album. But again, kind of cool, some cool covers on there. You got Thin Lizzy on there, and all sorts of other bands that that Def Leppard were into when they were growing up. But again, a fun listen once, maybe twice. I haven't listened to that album probably since the month I first got it, right? Some of you may be thinking the same thing. I mean, with some of the other ones, like recent years, like UFO, one of my all-time favorite bands, okay? They released what now looks like could be their last studio album because Phil Mogg has decided to retire from the band. I can't imagine they would go on, but I've seen weirder things, you never know. But the last thing they put out was the Salentino Cuts. Fun album. First time ever that UFO did a covers album. Some interesting choices of songs on there, which is kind of nice. A couple kind of, that's expected. I mean, how many bands have done Break On Through by The Doors over the years? Way too many. But, they picked like some Mountain stuff, a couple other really interesting choices. Robert Trower, kind of neat, right? But, there's some other ones over the years. I think one of the ones that came to mind first for me, one of the first covers albums that I remember was David Bowie's Pinups, which was released way back in, 73, 74, something like that, mid-70s. That was kind of cool. That was, again, it was kind of a novelty back in the day before it became the norm. What other things over the years? Let's see. John Lennon's Rock and Roll, right? Again, mid-70s. Kind of different for the time. As the years would go by, Rage Against the Machine put out a pretty decent one back in the beginning of the 2000s called Renegades. That was pretty neat. You had Guns N' Roses in the 90s doing the Spaghetti Incident. I'm not much of a fan, but some spirited covers on there, I thought. For a band that really doesn't have many studio albums in their career, of course, they got a covers album, right? Why not? Sure, Rod Stewart has made a career these days of doing covers of all like jazz and pop standards. Some people dig it. The funny thing is, I know plenty of, like, my parents, older folks, who love the Rod Stewart cover stuff. Don't really know much of his actual original material from the 70s and 80s, but they love the stuff he's doing now. Go figure. Ace Frehley did a covers album, a year or two ago. It's okay. You know, it's cool because it's Ace. But do I really want to hear Ace Frehley doing fucking covers? Come on, I want to hear Ace Frehley doing kick-ass rock stuff in the vein of like his classic solo material of Kiss. It's like, let's not be lazy here, guys. What else? Metallica actually put out a really cool the Garage Days thing back, God, when was that? The late 80s, I believe it was. That was kind of neat because, of course, you know, doing Merciful Fate and Budgie and, geez, all sorts of like weird covers. Of course, they did Diamond Head, but all sorts of like really interesting choices for songs. And it really worked. But now you've got, you know, Metallica's kind of guy. It seems like every other week on YouTube, you're seeing a video from some Metallica concert somewhere where Rob Trujillo and Kirk Hammett are doing the two of them are doing some awful cover of some weird song. And it's just like, guys, stop already. Stop. In the last few weeks, we've seen this back and forth between Toto and Weezer. You know, Weezer doing a cover of Toto's Africa and Toto doing a cover of a Weezer tune. So it's almost like now there's like this kind of camaraderie between bands. We're going to cover each other's songs and see how cool it is. And it's like, so everybody's now looking on YouTube and showing all this stuff. And so it's kind of now it's turned into something a little fun. It's almost like a one-upsmanship. And I think that is more interesting than a band going and putting out. It's like, okay, I'm going to do an album of covers of this band. Or you know, like I just read, as I was getting ready to do this show, that Cher is going to be doing an album of all ABBA covers. Really? Do we really want to hear that? So this is Cher, who hasn't done anything in a while, who's supposedly retired, coming back to do ABBA cover tunes. And I've heard ABBA is going to get back together and do an album of all original material. So it's like, seriously, do we really need that? You know, back in the 90s, like Magna Carta Records were pumping out all these kind of tributes to classic progressive rock bands. So you had like the Magna Carta roster of bands like Enchant and Magellan and, you know, all these other acts who were doing like a tribute album to Jethro Tull, tribute album to ELP, tribute album to Genesis, tribute album to Yes. And then, you know, you saw like hard rock tributes to Deep Purple and Black Sabbath and all this kind of stuff. And in most cases, again, kind of fun. But so many of these bands just basically they do a note-for-note impression of the band on the original recording, and there's no, like, I want to hear their individuality. I want to hear their character, their musical inclinations come through. I don't want to hear a inferior replication of the original song. What I think would be really cool, let's pick, I don't know, 3, 5, 10, whatever, like jazz fusion bands who play only instrumental music. I want to hear some label grab a bunch of these really cool up-and-coming fusion bands, do instrumental versions of Black Sabbath classics or Led Zeppelin classics. That'd be kind of fun, all right? Instrumental versions of classic rock or metal or what have you songs that originally had vocals, now do them without vocals, add your own spirit into it and do something completely different with it. That'd be kind of interesting, right? Or how about thrash bands doing like 80s pop hits, thrash style. Yeah, every now and then you see something cool like that on an album by a band. Okay? But not enough. That's what I would like to see a whole tribute or covers album be like. Not just, okay, we're a band, we need to pump out an album, we don't have any original material, so let's just do a bunch of covers. Ho-hum, yeah, all right, whatever. Okay? Or these tribute albums that, again, basically you're doing a metal band tribute, doing a tribute to Slayer or Metallica or whoever, and you pick a bunch of other metal bands that sound similar, and they're just doing, you know, like I said, inferior recreations of those songs that just really don't get you excited, and all they make you want to do is go and listen to the originals again. That's you know, that's what's made this whole kind of trend boring and stale, because there's nothing fun going at it. What I think is kind of fun, again, I just mentioned it before, it's kind of fun that Weezer and Toto have this back and forth thing now. Okay? It's like, you do one of ours, we'll do one of yours. Okay, that was cool. We're going to try and tackle one of yours. It's making it kind of fun. We don't need a whole album of that kind of stuff. But I think that added a little bit of, kind of a little bit of fun into the whole thing. So anyway, that's kind of my point to this little rant for 10 minutes here. Bands and artists, musicians out there, singers, if you want to do some covers, man, mix it up a little bit. Give us some songs that we haven't heard before. Nobody wants to hear a cover of Hotel California. Nobody wants to hear a cover of Break On Through by The Doors. Nobody wants to hear a cover of Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin. No one wants to hear, quite frankly, no one wants to hear any AC/DC cover songs. Let AC/DC do those songs. I've seen so many covers albums where it's like, oh my God, they picked that song. It's like, how many times are you going to pick that tune? It's like every band does the same song. It's like, come on, mix it up, people. Give us something obscure. How cool would it be if like a hard rock band or a pop band or whatever did a cover of like Rock Bottom by UFO? Okay? Or did like a cool Humble Pie song that's not Black Coffee, though that was done pretty good by Joe Bonamassa and Beth Hart recently. Speaking of Bonamassa, he has made a career on mixing it up between doing cover material and his own original material. And I got to say, he did his Blues Explosion, British Blues Explosion thing, British Explosion, whatever it's called, live album recently, which is basically all covers of tunes from like Zeppelin and all the Cream and all the Clapton and whatnot, Jeff Beck and so on. That was actually pretty cool because he picked some good tunes on there that you would not have expected. Okay? Nobody wanted to hear Sunshine of Your Love. Nobody wanted to hear Rock and Roll. He's done Dazed and Confused before. He did some really obscure Clapton stuff that I didn't expect. He did some kind of off-the-cuff Cream stuff, and certainly some cool Jeff Beck and Yardbirds and Jeff Beck group stuff. So that's kind of cool. If you're gonna cover an artist, okay, pick some stuff from their song catalog that's not the same shit that we've all heard on the radio a million times over the years. Okay, pick some more obscure stuff. So that's my rant for today. If you're gonna do cover stuff, non-original material, you're gonna do a tribute album, pick some stuff that's not run-of-the-mill, people. Okay, make it interesting for us, the listeners, to want to go back and enjoy what you've done over and over again. Because if not, if you're just going to pick the same old songs and you're going to do them exactly like the original artist did, I may listen to it once or twice, but I'm going to go back and listen to the original. I'm going to forget about what you just did within 2 weeks. Done. And that's not why you go and do this, right? You want to make some money selling it. You want people to enjoy it. Well, do something different with it. Okay? That's my rant for today. This is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on the mighty YouTube. We've got the Judas Priest History of show coming up very, very soon. That is going to be recorded over the next couple days, and I've got a couple other things that I'm working on for you, so lots of content coming. Also, make sure to go visit us on our sister channel, Comic Book Geezers. Search for Comic Book Geezers here on YouTube. My buddy Wild Bill and I talk about vintage comic books from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We show them. We got vast collections. We show them. We talk about them. We go to cons. We have guests, so we do all sorts of fun stuff. If you love Marvel and DC and some of the independent classic characters, that's our thing. So if you care, join us, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Sea of Tranquility. www.seatranquility.org. Check us out. Bye.